Thanks for being here. This is our first stop for today, and this is the MOCA Tucson. This building was built in 1960, designed by the husband-wife architectural team of William and Sylvia Wilde, who are known for their modernist and brutalist architecture. Before it was the MOCA, it was a fire station. And before that, what sat here was the Tucson Light Factory. The Tucson Light Factory produced all of the light enjoyed in Tucson and the surrounding area from 1905 to 1932, at which point the factory was shuttered and the local light industry was privatized. My name's Mathias Svalina, and I'm a poet, and I run a dream delivery service. I take subscribers, and every day for a month, I write dreams to them, and I deliver the dreams by bike to their doors before dawn. And the Dream History Tour that I'm doing right now is an extension of that, in which I'm trying to embed the dream logic inside of cities and sort of unearth a surrealist interpretation of a city's present and past. This building here was the site of two rival universities. One university was the University of Synonyms, and the other university was the University of Cinnamon. Everything that could be learned at the University of Synonyms could be learned at the University of Cinnamon. Everything taught in every class was the same. And yet, when one student was a student of synonyms, every word of every lecture consisted of parallel meanings. And when one was a student of the University of Cinnamon, everything taught in the lectures was a flavor, a spice. And if you lean in now, you can still smell a bit of cinnamon. Yeah, I was working in marketing in DC for a company that provided personal security for CEOs. And like I had 4 suits from the Men's Warehouse that I wore Monday through Thursday. And ultimately, I realized my only skill sets were teaching writing and writing weird for people. At a certain point, put those as the primary things in my life and let everything else fall into place as it would. And you know, the trade-offs are pretty obvious. Frequently have been told about John Dillinger being captured at the Hotel Congress, but you might not know that before he was caught there, he went for a little walk, and he ended up here, in this spot. And he stood here for a long time as the sun dipped behind the mountains, and the sky exploded pink and orange, and Dillinger closed his eyes tight, so tight the flashes of light filled the darkness. And as he stood with his eyes closed, he considered for a moment never opening them again, never returning to the world he felt he'd left behind, which was such a factory of broken things, such a chain of brief thrills. Rather than having a reading at the Poetry Center or something that could be easily archived, I wanted to have something that happens out around town and, for the most part, disappears. A piece of land exists like a symphony. It exists only as it exists in the experience of it, in this way, right now, and then now, and then right now, and again. And it's like Heraclitus said about stepping in the river, but it's also like a puppy curled up, asleep and warm in your feet. Not growing up in this environment, not growing up in this landscape, there's such a surreal visual experience of the desert and the saguaros. The daily transcendence of light out here is like a weird kink. So I brought you here to tell you about this beautiful building, the Hampton Inn over here. We all know that Tucson's one of the longest continually occupied spots in North America. You might not know that this area has been populated by ghosts for much, much longer. And during the construction of the Hampton Inn, when the workers dug out the foundation, there are no signs of ghost habitation that date back to before humans had a word for time, or a word for ghosts, or a word for words, before words even had to mean anything. Like every city, you know, the history gets transformed and whitewashed and manipulated in order to tell a convenient story or tell a brand new convenient story. Tucson consists of the Tucson we can see and smell and hear, and birds flitting between trees and dust-blown wind, and the geometries that light carves out of angles, and also consists of the Tucson that cannot be seen, cannot be sensed, cannot be lived in. All of the images and all of the stuff and all the matter of experience that gets warped and twisted and reiterated and remixed inside of a dream feels like that happens inside of a city's history of itself. So there's something that is very analogous of the dream logic and the history logic for me. I brought you here because I wanted to tell you about March 22nd, 1983, when Nina Simone, the morning after performing in Tucson, sat right here crying. And a hummingbird flew up to her face, and the hummingbird buzzed once, twice around her head. On that day, at this moment, this spot became Tucson's fontanelle, the soft spot where a baby's skull is not yet fused. Beneath the fontanelle lies the city's brain, a mingling of infrastructure and history and dirt and bedrock and atrocity and love, and all the unseen truths upon which a city relies. Nina Simone, crying here, split the city open, as you have so many times, when so much passion and horror and terror and love gathered around you like a gown made of vines, vined of strained patience and exult, vined incidents and thorn. And with all that terror and beauty, the city opens at your feet like a galloping horse bursting into light.